All right, we have the F32 in the shop, back from paint, from getting the interior sprayed, and now it's time to start bolting on some parts and turning this thing into a race car. We've got a chunk of stuff to do, still lots and lots of things to do, but a lot of the fabrication and development work has been completed, so now just waiting on some of those parts to come in for prototypes and whatnot so that we can get that stuff bolted onto here. First up, this car's been back for like less than 24 hours and the guys have already torn apart the engine a bit to check out the rod bearings, and more than that, do that dual pickup S55 pan solution to help reduce oil starvation on track, as we are going to definitely see some high G situations on track and want to make sure that this thing is safe and that the engine is safe, and best way to do that is do that S55 oil pump solution. Lots more to come. We're going to start working on suspension here soon, some other driveline bits. So let's get cracking and turn this F32 into a race car. So this is the stock N55 oil pan that came off, and the stock pickup. This bolts to the bottom of the engine, and then you have your one pickup here that picks up oil from that main sump area of the pan and then feeds into the pump here, and of course then feeds the engine. That has a single sump pickup right there, which means that under high G loads, when the oil is splashing around, maybe oil is up here under heavy braking. That's probably the biggest point that we see the oil starvation have, is under heavy braking. And then once you get back to gas, you want to make sure you have oil pressure. So while all the oil is up here, it's not back here feeding this sump, which means you may get into a oil starved situation under heavy braking with sticky tires, good suspension, and also under high G load corners. So this is the S55 pump, and you know, you got a pickup here, just like the N55 pan, but then you also have a pickup here. So this pickup sits in the front of the sump, so under heavy braking, you still have a pickup up here. And then what happens is it gets picked up through there, goes through this, which goes here and basically acts like an oil starter or a fuel starvation kit. You know, we have fuel starvation kits where we pick up fuel from one side of the saddle, one side of the tank to feed the other side, and that's essentially what's going on here. It's going to pick up oil from this area, feed it back here so that the main sump pickup can stay filled with oil and reduce oil starvation, which is going to be critical to making sure this N55 stays actively full of oil pressure so that we keep those rod bearings healthy, keep the engine overall healthy, and just have reduced oil starvation so we can continue to have fun on track in this bad boy. Few other bits and pieces we have going on while the front end is torn apart. Of course, got the WPC rod bearings, went ahead and now that the oil pan is off, we were able to get the color code off of the crank, and we've got one blue combo and then 5 red combos. So these are color coded on the crank. There's a code on the counterweight of the front counterweight of the crank that tells you which version of the bearings you need. Got fresh engine mounts with our solid engine mount reinforcements that are just going to help solidify the engine mounts. This is a system that the GT4s and the 235 IRs did, and this will help solidify things, keep things a lot tighter versus just that factory rubber. Got front tension struts, Meyle front tension struts, and as you can see in this thing, there are a lot of voids here, which just cause a lot of movement in the front end, especially under braking, and we are going to go with our precision front control arm bearing, replace that there. This is also using a sealed ball joint, so really good for street applications as well, just to tighten up the front end. This really helps in the braking department where you start getting load in here and then it starts moving back and forth and making the ABS freak out a little bit. Got Meyle front control arms as well, and also have this little, we call this the Mickey Mouse flange. These are plastic from the factory, and this plastic end breaks off, gets brittle, typical for a car that's 10, 15 years old. And we are going to replace this with this aluminum piece that's a lot more robust, and also have this silicone coolant hose to go there as well. Front counterweight is where the code is for the main bearings, and the, yeah, there it is, BRRR, for the coding to know what bearings, what color code of bearings you're supposed to put in. So they are gonna get cracking on getting these bearings out. We got the front subframe prepped to go back in after they get the bearings and oil pan stuff done. Fresh Meyle lower control arm, fresh Meyle tension strut with our precision front control arm bearing in there, giving that solid feel and all that articulation. Fresh engine mounts with the engine mount reinforcements. Gonna run this thing with stock sway bars for now, but we got Powerflex front sway bar bushings in here, some Black Series bushings. The factory bushings are bonded to the bar, so you can't let the bar do its job fully and rotate freely. So got rid of those bonded bushings and now have these Powerflex in here. How are we doing since I was last over here?
Rod bearings are done.
Rod bearings complete. We've got, looks like, most of this thing on. You're trying to get the sprocket on now?
Yes.
So getting the sprocket on for the oil pump, got the oil pump actually on the pickup. You know, worth noting, I don't think I mentioned this before at this point, this is what the M235 IRs did to help reduce oil starvation on those cars. So this really is a proven solution, as those cars ran super reliably for us and in a lot of different scenarios over the years. One other point to make when you guys are gonna fire this baby up, as we know this here, but for our viewers, whenever you do anything on the engine, even just oil filter housing gasket, anything like that, you really should prime the system. B&W put out a service bulletin a few years back that basically said anytime you have done anything with the oiling system, you need to disconnect the coils or injectors or whatever it is to crank the system over and build oil pressure in the system. There is a working theory that that is where some of the rod bearing issues stem from on these cars that people have seen. I took some rod bearings out of one of Kerry's old X5s that was 150, 160,000 miles, and the rod bearings were fine in that. So as long as everything is maintained properly, they still will have a solid life. But seems like sometimes after an oil filter housing gasket gets done or something like that, that the rod bearings seemingly fail a few thousand miles later for some guys, which may mean they did not build oil pressure and prime the system after basically bleeding the oil out of the system and dry starting those. A good oil also will help prevent that, like a red line oil where it keeps really good film protection over the bearings to keep it lubricated in those potential dry start scenarios. But right now, Michael has got a fresh trans filter and pan on this thing, working on getting the fluid changed out. Got to take care of the maintenance of this thing too. Also, got our little dry brake quick disconnect that we use for the DCT cars. We drain the pan out, measure what we take out, and then put back in the same amount plus a little bit, and then we'll go through the whole process of properly running through the oil fill procedure when we get the car running again, as it still is in a non-running state. More parts coming in for the F32. We've got some Evolution Raceworks charge pipes and down pipe. Got the charge pipe from the cold side, the charge pipe from the hot side. So this side feeding the intercooler, then this side on the other side of the intercooler going to the throttle body intake manifold area. As we know, these things are plastic from the factory and seem to always fall apart, most notably fall apart from this junction right here where it's plastic. This will just crack apart. So because what we have on there is not broken currently, we don't need a C-clip, but if you have broken the pipe, the plastic pipe, the C-clip that is right here is likely shot somewhere to the moon. So make sure you get one of those added on. But upgrading these to these aluminum pieces, and then because this is now going to be a race car and never going to see the street again, we have a catless down pipe from Evolution Raceworks that we're going to toss on this thing. Probably make this thing a little bit louder as well as free up a bit of power. So we'll see where that lands, but they are moving right along. So seats in. We've got some safety switches, kill switch, the fire system extinguisher switch. Dave has been making some brackets and whatnot in here. He's going to be working on the center switch panel, which is only going to actually have a couple of switches on it. Oh, we got Dave over here working on some
some wiring things. As I said, only like 2 switches that are gonna be on the center panel, but he's got those things. That is defrost and rain light. Yeah, defrost and rain light. And then what he also has on the table over here, this I'm super pumped on. Diffsonline limited slip differential with 4 clutch 3560. This system from the factory kind of is a pain, as the ring gear is welded to the limited slip unit or open slip unit. So have to machine off the ring gear, put it back on after you get some modification done, and now it is a bolted ring gear to this assembly. So as we know, these things are open diff from the factory, and that leaves a lot of performance on the table. So pumped to get this Diffsonline limited slip unit in this thing and see how it does, getting that power to the ground. Time for some rear subframe activities. One of the things we are working on knocking out is some reinforcement on the rear tow arm area, as it's just kind of this thin sheet metal here and works great for a street car, but once you are in a race car environment, this, from our F30 days, we did see this area move and tweak a little bit, which can give you a little bit of dynamic tow. So we do have this reinforcement. I got one over here. This is the reinforcement plate that is going to get here, and then kind of hammer over this. There's a little hump right here that's a little bit annoying, but get that on, hammer that down, get it in place, get a couple rosette welds, get it welded all around. You can see what Austin has going on over here. Has not finished it, have you?
No.
Or have you finished it and this looks like crap?
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I wanted it to look like. I don't put any effort into anything, so that's what you're getting.
That is an absolute lie. Austin puts forth great effort. So, getting those reinforcements done, and then also we have empty subframe holes for these subframe bushings. These are a Delrin hybrid. Hey Austin, take this apart for me. I only got one hand. These are a Delrin hybrid bushing. Oh, come on, you're stronger than that. Yeah, there you go. So these subframes are a little bit weird, where these holes are not round, and then in here you have these little teeth that make this awkward. So we've got this keyed out to go in there around the teeth that are there. And because it's not round, we needed something that had just a fraction of give to get in there and kind of mold to that ovalness. So little 2-piece design that will get these pressed in as a unit. Guys are working hard on this.
I think it makes some noise too. That wasn't as good as I was going to do.
Yeah, so Delrin is still extremely strong, and most of this is aluminum. So while we do typically do solid aluminum bushings, this still has absolutely minimal deflection. I would call this a solid bushing. This is actually a similar system that we ran in the Grand Am days back in the day with the F30s of a Delrin aluminum hybrid. So carrying on what we knew from our time then, I'm gonna let Austin get back to welding and then get these bushings installed and then get this subframe in the car. Factory subframe is out, got the factory bushings in here. Look at these voids causing all kinds of movement. We are getting that solidified with our subframe bushings that also raise the subframe up a little bit to help improve some geometry as we are lowering these cars down. So subframe is up in place. The new Diffsonline differential did a 4-clutch limited slip unit from Diffsonline. These things come with an open diff from the factory, and well, to put that power down, this baby is gonna be magic. So got some specific ramp angles in there to help us out to apply the load on this diff on this car. Dave has got some more work to do with getting the rear hubs and arms and things back in. The subframe is in. More progress, gonna let him get back at it. Also got Powerflex diff bushings in here. These Black Series diff bushings up front as well as back here. Kinda can't really see the back one. A little dark under here, but also have these toe arm reinforcements for that structure there. Everything's looking good. Dave's mumbling something. I don't know what he's mumbling, but he just cut out a bunch of this F32 hood to get this new awesome vent mounted up on the front. Looking amazing. This is going to help with some heat management, extract some heat, also reduce some lift under the hood, which in turn hopefully means a little bit of front downforce, but that thing's looking spicy. It's starting to look more and more like a race car.
F32 is on the ground looking pretty much race ready now. Got the wheels on, which just kind of set this whole thing off, looking really good. Dave is gonna do a little bit of a roughed in alignment just so that we could take this thing out to the parking lot for a systems check. And what we also have right now is this thing sitting on the scales, which means we've got a weight on it now. Can you guess what the weight is? Pause, 3, 2, 1. 3,080 pounds is where this thing landed, which I'm pretty pumped on. A healthy amount less than where this thing began. Still a few little spots we can take some weight out of. Got the stock battery in there. This is 0 fuel right now, but gives us a good baseline of where we feel like this thing will land. Now we can start working towards what power to weight class, where we're gonna land with this thing, what exactly it's gonna fit into. So, I'm gonna let Dave get to setting this thing up so I can go take this thing for a little test drive around the parking lot later. Yeah, I'm gonna drive this thing today. That is super exciting. Moment of truth as we are about to try to fire this thing up. Dave is about to try to fire this thing up. He hit something.
I just turned power on.
Oh, he turned power on. So kill switch is working, power works. Now let's see if this thing fires up. Did rod bearings, had the whole thing blown apart, now back together. See what you got, Dave. I forgot to turn the mic on, so I don't know what you guys got of that or not. What are you doing? Are you firing it up from over there, or are you just scanning codes? Dave's a smart one, and so fired up, no leaks. I didn't even look under it. Dave, no leaks?
No leaks.
No leaks. Go to oil pressure. Now he's scanning codes, seeing what all we got that may have gone wrong with this thing in the past 30 seconds of running it. I think he's gonna let me take this thing around the parking lot soon. Oh, first test drive in the new whip. Let's see what we got here. It feels good. Nice work, Dave.
Seems to shift good.
It does. Well, that's awesome. This is super exciting. All right, now I really am getting pumped. I don't know how many times I've said it, but I am ready to go shred this thing on the track. I gotta look at some dates and figure out when we can get this thing out because I'm trying to go ASAP. Stay tuned for more.
Ready to go? Should be an awesome race weekend. We are ready to kill it this year. It's good. It's good. It's going to be a wild ride.